Hey, 6th grade, this is lesson 4.3, divide multi-digit whole numbers. This is a review, so it'll be pretty fast. This is long division. I'm sure it's your favorite. All right, number 1, Mr. Soto buys a new phone for $432 on a payment plan. He pays $18 each month. How many months will it take him to pay for his new phone? Write an expression that could be used to find the number of months Mr. Soto will pay for the phone. All right, so when it says write an expression, it means just write the math problem. So in this case, we're going to take the $432 he owes and divide it by the $18 payment every month, and then we should get how many months it will take. So we're going to estimate the quotient. The quotient is the answer. When we estimate, we will turn these into numbers that are a little bit easier to do mental math with. So let's round 18 to 20 and 432 to 400. So our new problem would be 400 divided by 20. And then I can do that in my head. I know that 20 goes into 42 times, so it's going to be 20 months for my estimate. Then it asks us to actually do the division, and they set it up for us. But remember that the number that comes first in your problem is the one that goes in the box, okay? All right, so they said 18 goes into 43 two times. 2 times 18 is 36. They subtracted and got 7, and now it's our turn. We're going to take the 2 and bring it down. How many times will 18 go into 72? 4 times. So 4 times 18 is 72. When we subtract, we get 0. So now with the exact math, we know that how many months will he be paying? He's actually going to be paying for 24 months. How can you use your estimate to check if your answer is reasonable? Well, since 20 is close to 24, it's reasonable. All right, let's do another one. This one says an experimental airplane is flying at an altitude of 8,000 feet when it begins descending to land. If the plane descends at a constant rate of 125 feet per minute, how long will it take to land the plane, right? Estimate the quotient. Well, before we can do that, we need to write our problem. So we're going to take the 8,000 feet it has to go down and divide it by the 125 feet it's going every minute. So if we were to estimate that, well, we know 8,000 is a good estimate. And then I'm going to round 125 to 100. And then when I do that, I'm going to get 80 minutes. All right. How do you decide where to place the first number in the quotient? So we are doing the long division, and how do we know where to put our numbers in our problem? Well, I know that 125 cannot go into 8, cannot go into 80. It has to go into 800. So the first number in the quotient will go above 0 and 800. So, for instance, it's not going into 8 or 80, it's going into 800, so I'm going to put my first number right here. How many times will 125 go into 800? Yes, 6 times. And if I do 125 times 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 6, 7, so that's 750. And then they kind of messed up with their lining things up on this problem. So if we do 800 minus 750, it's actually 50. And then they brought down this 0 to get the 500. So how many times will 125 go into 500? 4 times, and it actually is 500. It goes in perfectly. So how long will it take to land the plane? 64 minutes. All right, and is that close to our estimate? Sure is, so it's a very reasonable answer. All right, join me on the next page. Okay, this is going to be our last example for today. An art class is making mosaics with glass squares. Each of the 125 students will get the same number of glass squares to use. The total number of glass squares for the students to use is shown. How many glass squares will each student get? All right, so it says write an expression that can be used to find the number of glass squares each student will receive. Remember, expression is problem, so we're going to take the total number of glass squares they have and divide it by the number of students, because we're taking all of them and putting them into 121 groups, so everybody has the same. When we do the division, remember that first number, 1,240, is going to go inside the box, which they set up for us over here. So 121 does not go into 1, does not go into 12, but it goes into 124 one time. So we'll put the 1 above the 4, and it's 121. When I subtract, I get 3. Bring down my 0. 121, does it go into 30? It does not. So we have to put a 0, though, to hold its place. So it's 0, and it's remainder 30. Don't forget that even if you know it doesn't go into 30, we still have to add that 0 up there after, because 1 and 10 are way different answers, right? So how many squares does each student get? They get 10 whole squares. D says a remainder is the amount left over when an amount cannot be divided equally. What does the remainder mean in this context? So we had this remainder of 30. What does that mean? Well, it means that there are 30 extra squares. They are good squares to use, but because we only have 30, everybody can't have one. So those are the extras. All right, so that was a quick refresher of long division. Stay tuned for our next lesson. It will be dividing with decimals. See you then.